Hello, I'm Alan, and welcome to today's edition of Alan's Cycling Adventures. Today we are riding from Las Vegas, New Mexico to Tucumcari, New Mexico. It's going to be our last full day in New Mexico, though, because tomorrow we're riding into Texas. Anyway, if you enjoyed today's video, be sure to give it a thumbs up. Click the subscribe button to subscribe to my channel. And if you have any questions, comments, suggestions, or ideas for future editions of Alan's Cycling Adventures, be sure to leave them in the comments below. Well, without further ado, let's ride. All right, so I continued today with the strategy I think I started yesterday, and that was to give everybody else a chance to hit the road and get out ahead of me. I guess I didn't quite give them enough of a head start, but I did succeed in not chasing them down, so that was good. I actually, at one point, fell into the same pace with a couple of the riders, Terry and Alex. They're a husband and wife. They're actually really interesting people. Terry did the cross-country tour I think about 10 years ago. And at some point after meeting Alex and they got married, she decided that that's something she would like to do. And so he's actually repeating the trip so that he can ride across country with her, which I think is really, really nice and an amazing story. And they are an amazing couple. But anyway, I did get to ride with them a little bit and had an interesting conversation. But they are stronger climbers than I am. And when we got to one of the climbs, they got out ahead of me. And then, of course, I stop every 10 miles for my gel breaks. And so they got further ahead of me. And in the early going, I caught up to them a couple of times, but it was kind of like I wasn't working on chasing them down, so I ended up catching up with them just before my next gel break, etc. So I saw them a little bit today, which was fun. Anyway, this was definitely a tough ride for me. It's not the longest ride I've ever done. It's actually the second longest ride I've ever done. I don't remember if the longest one had as much climbing as we did today. We really didn't have that much climbing today, to be honest with you. We had a lot of descending, which was a lot of fun. And it's one of the reasons that my average speed is as high as it is. But we did have some challenging climbs as well, which I will get to in a few moments. Also, this ride was nearly 110 miles, and that's a pretty good distance for me anyway. To be exact, the ride today was 109.79 miles. I did start off at 7:34 a.m. The weather was cloudy at the start, temperature 53 degrees Fahrenheit with a feels-like temperature of 50 degrees Fahrenheit. Humidity was 31%. And the wind at the start was 4.3 miles per hour from the north-northwest. By the end, it was gusting well over 20 miles per hour. And it was, at some parts, it was a tailwind. At some parts, it was a quartering tailwind. At some parts, it was a headwind. At some parts, it was a crosswind. So it both helped to make the ride easier and served to make the ride harder. Anyway, my average moving speed today was 15.9 miles per hour. My maximum speed was 44.2 miles per hour. Take that with a grain of salt because my fastest speed was going down a 9% gradient, long, winding downhill. And although I did hit the brakes for some of the curves, I think I was going well in excess of 44.2 miles per hour. I'm actually considering taking the speed sensor off of my bike because I think that might be introducing the inaccuracy. I'll probably touch base with Garmin before I actually do that, but something's not right. Anyway, my total moving time was 6 hours, 53 minutes, 22 seconds, and the elapsed time was 8 hours, 1 minute, and 48 seconds. My average heart rate was 116 beats per minute, and my max heart rate was 141 beats per minute. According to Garmin and Strava, I burned 2,082 calories. Take that with a grain of salt as well. My average cadence was 59 RPM, and my max cadence was 126 RPM. In terms of elevation gain, according to Strava, we gained 3,792 feet, and that was with Strava's map data. And according to Garmin's barometric data, we gained 3,602 feet. I had a total number of pedal strokes of 20,976. And according to Strava, my average power output was 100 watts. There were 4 Garmin climbs on this route. The first one started at 1.23 miles into the route. It was 1.07 miles in length. We gained 190 feet at an average gradient of 3%. The second Garmin climb started at 3.49 miles in, 0.87 miles in length, with 157 feet of elevation gain and an average gradient of 3%. The third Garmin climb, take this with a grain of salt and I'll explain. It started at 65.9 miles. It was 1.69 miles in length. We gained 377 feet at an average gradient of 4%. However, as we were riding up that climb, it was a nice gentle climb, and we came around a bend, and up ahead you could see what looked like an absolute wall. And looking at the Garmin, before we came around the corner, I was looking at the climb profile, and it showed a nice gentle climb with the last little bit of it looking like it went straight up. While climbing that last part, I did look down at my Garmin, and it was calling it a 9% gradient going up. I don't remember how long that 9% gradient was, but it was a beast. The fourth Garmin climb started at 104 miles. It was 0.84 miles in length. We gained 148 feet and an average gradient of 3%. The last 30 miles, though, of this ride were rolling hills, and it was up, down, up, down, up, down, more down than up, but there was some up, and one of those climbs, again, was 9% gradient. So even though they didn't get scored as Garmin climbs, they were significant. In terms of where we rode, we started out in Las Vegas, New Mexico. There was a lot of nothing on this route, which you can tell from the scenery, but we went between towns a lot, so there's not a lot of towns in the list. So from Las Vegas, we eventually got to Alta Vista, and then Trementina, and Adero Az, and then Conchas, and finally Tucumcari. I think Tucumcari is the Native American word for if you ride a bicycle here from Las Vegas, New Mexico, it will hurt. Anyway, that's my interpretation. What else to say? Oh, the first SAG stop, we actually stopped at an abandoned gas station that was used in the movie No Country for Old Men. Also, there were some scenes in that movie shot at the hotel we stayed at yesterday in Las Vegas. So that was pretty cool. I have reported on the flat count in these videos before. I ran out of time yesterday for the voiceover, but I did have one flat yesterday. And I didn't have any flats today. As a matter of fact, I was talking with Dana and Paula at dinner, and they believe that nobody had a flat today. So today was a good day from a flat perspective. What else to add? Well, we did ride to Tucumcari, as I mentioned. Tonight is our last night in New Mexico, because tomorrow we continue on to Dalhart, Texas. As a matter of fact, the next 3 days we will have 3 state line crossings. Tomorrow night we're staying in Dalhart, Texas. The day after tomorrow we cross over into Oklahoma. And finally the day after that we cross into Kansas and spend a lot of time in Kansas. The good news for my screaming legs is that tomorrow we have a moderate amount of climbing again. A little less than today, so not that much. And I think there's one Garmin climb on tomorrow's route. But then after that, once we get to Texas, there is not a lot of climbing for I guess a fair amount of time. So even though we are well into the longest stretch of riding days in the tour, it looks like after tomorrow my legs may be able to get a much needed rest or a much needed break. In any event, I hope you've been enjoying these videos. I've certainly enjoyed making them. If you're thinking of taking this trip yourself, which I highly recommend, it has been an absolute blast and continues to be an absolute blast, I will go ahead and include a link in the description for the website for Crossroads Cycling Adventures. I will say that if you do decide to undertake something like this, training for it is very, very important. But I will also say, because the hills in New Jersey did not prepare me very well for the hills in California, Arizona, and New Mexico, totally different hills, much, much longer climbs. So I will say that in terms of preparation, I would say that my ability to finish these rides is probably about 80% training and about 20% just sheer determination to get it done. Sheer determination to ride every single inch of this trip. And of course, we still have a lot to go, so let's see how I end up. But so far, no walks of shame, no riding in the SAG vehicle. I have ridden every inch of this tour. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed the video. I am getting into Tucumcari now. Okay, I made it. I am in Tucumcari at the hotel. That was a tough ride. But then, you know that if you got to this point in the video because I described it in the voiceover. Anyway, until next time, stay safe out there.